As you guys can see, I am playing Pokemon Sword inside the Ryujinx Emulator Android on a Mali GPU device. Let's get started. Yo, what's up guys, it's ApTreX here. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys the Ryujinx Emulator Android test on a very low-end Android device with a Mali GPU. Now in my last video which I made talking about Ryujinx Emulator Android, you guys told me that it performs very amazing on Mali GPU Android devices compared to any other Nintendo Switch emulator for Android. So let me show you guys that the device which I am using has Mali G610 GPU. So basically it has a MediaTek Dimensity processor. Along with that it has about 5.4 GB of total RAM and only available RAM is 1.7 GB. This is the Xiaomi Redmi K50i with I guess Dimensity 8100 processor, and in today's video we'll be trying out some games inside of the Ryujinx Emulator Android version. Now before getting started, we'll need to set up this emulator on our Mali GPU Android device. Let me go to settings. Afterwards we'll go to the app section and make sure to do all of these things. Once all the steps are completed, we can simply head back and tap on the refresh button to see that all of our games have been successfully loaded, and these are all the games that we'll be testing in today's video. Inside the Ryujinx Emulator Android developer build, this is the last build of Ryujinx Emulator and it is not stable at all. If you guys have seen my last video testing this emulator out, you guys will understand that. But on Mali GPU Android devices, lot of you guys told me that the performance is very amazing and superior to any other Nintendo Switch emulators for Android, including the Skyline emulator. So right here are the best settings which I'll be using. NCA has been turned on, VSync has been disabled, dock mode will disable this option and enable performance mode. Once that has been done, in terms of graphics, shader cache has been enabled, and in terms of resolution scaling, we'll set it to 0.5x resolution. Now on Mali GPU Android devices, custom graphics driver do not work, so we won't be adding any kind of graphics driver, and we also have the on-screen touch controls which has been set up already. So once everything has been done, we are now all set to start testing the Ryujinx emulator on our Mali GPU Android devices. The first game that I'll be trying out is going to be Sonic Mania, and if you guys have seen my last video, you know that this emulator has a lot of crashing issues, but it also provides an amazing graphical output, along with that very amazing performance, at least on my Snapdragon Android device. But in terms of Mali GPU Android device, at the top left corner you'll be able to see the overlay. We are getting around 60 FPS, but once the game starts it will be a whole different story. So let me just go ahead and quickly load up a game, and after testing Sonic Mania, we'll one by one test out more and more games that are harder to emulate on a Mali GPU Android device. So currently you can still see that we are getting 60 FPS even though the VSync has been disabled, whereas on my Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor Android device, I was getting around 150 FPS in this game. So obviously, no matter how well the emulator might be, it cannot compare to the Snapdragon processor Android devices. Anyways, there we go, our game has successfully started, and still you will be able to see the FPS which we are getting is around 40 to 50 FPS, which is not that impressive, to be honest. It's not the best FPS which I have seen so far. So this was Sonic Mania. I only wanted to test this game out to see if Nintendo Switch games actually work in this emulator or not. So I'll simply tap on the exit game option. And yeah, now we are back to the Ryujinx emulator. The next game that we'll be testing out is going to be a high-end title. It is going to be One Piece Red Deluxe Edition, and as you guys just saw, the emulator crashed. Now this is very common. You can simply tap on the game once again and it should successfully load inside of the Ryujinx Emulator Android, and this game actually gave me the best amount of performance possible on my Snapdragon processor Android device, and I think it is similar in case of this device as well, because at the top left corner you will be able to see we are getting a great amount of FPS. So I'll simply press the plus button to skip all of these cutscenes, especially this one. And yeah guys, our game has successfully started just like that. No graphical issues and very smooth gameplay experience. Now here we are getting anywhere from 100 plus FPS, which is so amazing guys. Just take a look at this. We are emulating an actual 3D Nintendo Switch title on our Android device, and this is not bad at all. There are few stuttering issues here and there, but they are definitely manageable. Nothing is not playable, and there are no crashing issues as far as I can see. The game is working properly. It only crashes when you actually start a brand new game. So yeah, everything is looking great. This was One Piece Unlimited World Red Deluxe Edition gameplay test. Now the next game that we'll try out is going to be Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and this is a very high-end title. I have very low hopes of this actually working on my Android device. Even in the other emulators it doesn't work. The game has frozen in loading screen. So let me just go ahead and restart the emulator, and try out the game once again to see if it works or not. The loading part is actually complete, but once again at the top left corner you guys will be able to see we are getting straight up 0 FPS and nothing is actually working. As you just saw, the emulator simply crashed, so this game does not work. The next game that we'll be trying out is going to be the Pokemon Sword, and if this works then that will be very mind blowing. But let's see if it works or not. I haven't tested out this game previously inside the Ryujinx Emulator Android, and as we'll be able to see once again, just like Dragon Ball Z, it has frozen somehow and all the on-screen touch controls have disappeared. Now does this mean that it is because of insufficient RAM? It is a high possibility. The Ryujinx Emulator simply forced off, and as you will be able to see, my entire device is unresponsive. Now it always happens only if you have insufficient RAM, as this low-end device only has almost 1.7 GB available RAM. How can you expect these type of games to run on it? But in my opinion, I have tried out multiple games on my Snapdragon device with similar amount of RAM and it worked perfectly, and surprise, it actually started. So let's just go ahead and select our character. We also get the on-screen keyboard controls, which is pretty amazing. I'll press the S button and yeah, it actually starts, guys, as you will be able to see. Now I am hoping that there will be a lot of crashing issues. The shaders are being compiled properly, and I think this is the only way to play Pokemon Sword and Shield on your Mali GPU Android devices without getting any graphical issues, because I have tested out Sudachi emulator etc, and it did not work on my Mali GPU Android device. If I tried playing this game on Pine emulator, it used to have a lot of graphical issues, but in Ryujinx Emulator Android on a Mali GPU device, we are playing Pokemon Sword with literally no graphical issues at all, and the gameplay experience is super smooth. At the top left corner I am able to see 30 FPS, and yeah, Pokemon Sword is capped to 30 FPS, and I do hope that the game works, because if it doesn't then it's not worth it. But there we go, Pokemon Sword has successfully started on our low-end Mali GPU Android device, and here we go, the game also has successfully started. So yeah guys, this test has been 100% a W, because it actually works, and you guys were right whoever told me to test it out on a Mali GPU, because this is so far the smoothest gameplay experience that I have seen in Pokemon Sword without any graphical issues, and there are no issues in text, everything is being rendered properly. So yeah, I am quite impressed, to be honest. Only if this emulator's development was continued in a parallel universe, or if the Ryujinx Android build was released a bit sooner, we would literally have another stable Nintendo Switch emulator for Android. So yeah, you will be able to see all the cutscenes are being loaded properly and in very high resolution, I think 1x graphics resolution. So now is the moment of truth. How much FPS will we get after we exit the house? Because this is the most demanding scenario. Even on my iQOO 12 I used to get like 30 FPS maximum during this same scenario. But let's find out. At the top left corner we are getting 30 FPS. Oh my god, what am I actually seeing? Just take a look at this, guys. Alright, there are some stuttering issues here and there, but that's just shader being compiled. I don't think we are getting 30 FPS, guys. I think the FPS meter is broken, because as you will be able to see, the game is lagging. But I think it must be around I guess 5 to 10 FPS, not even that bad, it will be completely playable. So yeah guys, that was Pokemon Sword in Ryujinx Emulator Android, and as you will be able to see, my entire device keeps getting hanged because of insufficient RAM, and yeah, it's very hard to emulate such high-end titles on low-end Android devices. So do let me know in the comment section down below what do you guys think about Ryujinx Emulator Android, and should I make more gameplay testing videos on this emulator. I'll see you guys next time though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.